I have been focusing on the Catskills a little more because of the All Trails Challenge. I love the Adirondacks. I think I mean I love hiking. I would go. I don't think I've met a mountain that I don't like, but as much as I love the Adirondacks, there is something so special about the Catskills for me. There have been so many magical moments in the Catskills that just, I don't know. I hate to sound cheesy, but the more I hike the Catskills, the more I believe in magic. And I don't know how else to say it. There's just something special to me about those woods and the trails, and I don't know. I think people who hike the Catskills understand that.
Yeah. I got to admit, there is a whole different vibe down here in the Catskills with the people that you meet and such like that. It seems like people in the Catskills are more out there for nature and more out there for their experience than to get the peaks. I mean, that's what I see.
The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
Yeah. I don't know, Sarah. I didn't think you'd have the time. You're not into this podcast, are you?
What do you mean? I love this podcast. It's my favorite podcast.
She's an official sponsor. Of course we are.
Did that sound? Let me redo that. Did that sound authentic? This is my favorite podcast.
A little more. Try it again. Try it. A little more emphasis on favorite.
This is my favorite podcast.
Good.
God, right. That's good.
That?
Let's roll from the top now.
Okay. All right. So tonight, 1:37, Sarah Bacon is here to talk about the All Trails Challenge that she is just about to complete. She only has not even 6 miles left, right?
No, yeah, half of that left.
Yeah, so 3 miles. We're not going to say what you have left, right? Because it's you don't want weird people to join in on, right? That's what you said to me.
No, I don't want to tell you when. I can tell you where. It's Red Hill.
Oh, nice.
I've done Dinch Road, obviously, but yeah, the new trail for Red Hill. I'm excited to check it out.
Excellent. So she's going to talk about the All Trails tonight, and we're going to talk about some other stuff as well. So, have you guys ever heard of the Havasupai Reservation, the Havasupai Falls and stuff like that out in northwestern Arizona with the Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Tad, have you?
I have.
Yeah. So beautiful place, cascading waterfalls, absolutely stunning. Jessica and I a couple of years ago I actually got reservations for that place, but the timing wasn't correct and we just couldn't go. So we gave it up, and I was looking forward to it, as in that was the time when it was actually pretty cheap to go there. Now it's actually very expensive. I did get reservations this year, but it was just absolutely astronomical to just tent there. It was over $500, and I was like, no, that's 3 days. 3 days, 2 nights.
Do they supply you with a tent at least?
Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be nice?
So the 500 does not include a tent. It's just 3 nights. Bring your own tent, bring your own gear.
Yep. With a 13-mile trip into where you're staying.
So that's pretty expensive real estate if it's $500 for 3 nights and it's like a 4x8 tent space that you're covering.
It's not bad. It's
Well, you make more money than I do then, because damn, that's a lot.
I mean,
Sarah, I mean, do you agree with me? That's a lot for 4x8, $500.
You know what? Location, right? You're paying for the location, I'm imagining. I would want someone to at least pack my stuff in for me.
Yeah.
Right? Sounds like a Mount Everest shit. know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like what Sarah said. It is location. The waterfalls are stunning. You're right next to a creek that has I forgot what kind of stone it is, but it makes it kind of like a bluish color. So this recently, the past like week, there was some massive flooding that happened, and a lot of people don't know that, you know, if there is rain 20 miles north of the Grand Canyon or stuff, that massive amounts of rain, it'll flood into the Grand Canyon and make the Grand Canyon absolutely insane. And that is what happened, is that away and in and it approached south towards to where the Havasupai is, that it made this place absolutely insane, and that the waterfalls that were bluish turned into a dark brown floods everywhere. People were stranded. Hundreds were stranded inside of this Havasupai reservation. And once again, the only way in is by either backpacking 13 miles in and then flying out by helicopter, or you go 13 miles in, 13 miles out. So all these people, hundreds of people, had to be transported out by helicopter because they were stranded. And unfortunately, found out later today that one person lost their life due to the flooding. And as I've said before, flooding, you know, everybody talks about hurricanes, you know, tornadoes, stuff like that. Flooding is one of the most destructive forces of nature that you cannot stop, that you cannot predict, and that flash flooding just destroys everything. And it's just a tragic time. And with hiking, you kind of think, you know, with this area, that it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Well, most folks don't associate hiking with water sports. So they're not equipped for fast rising, forceful currents, and they're just not prepared for that. Any thoughts, Sarah?
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that. Just even in our area, not thinking ahead of what's to come on a day that maybe there's going to be a lot of rain in the afternoon, or in spring when there's melt and the runoff. You know, you cross a stream in the morning and by afternoon it's a completely different situation. So, you know, obviously not to the same level that we're talking about, but yeah, you're right. You know, people think they're going to go out for a hike. They're not considering that they may have to swim for it.
Correct. Well, that's why having some local knowledge from maybe a local guide is a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
What an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do some guiding out in the Havasupai area.
Ooh, yeah.
If you can afford the real estate.
Right. It's, you know, and if you've seen the stuff, I've kind of attached that to my Instagram page, because once again, I've been following the Havasupai for years upon years, wanting to get a reservation and to go down there, because it's just absolutely phenomenal, but it just hasn't been right. And these floods are absolutely insane, that people, you can see that they're located in the canyons, and usually they have one or two waterfalls and there's like 6 around them, just because of the canyons are flooding full of water.
So can you imagine if you're a family, husband, wife, 2, 3 young children under the age of 14 each, and that's your vacation. You've been looking forward to doing this, not just for months, but maybe a year, year and a half or 2. You go out there and then you're caught in these rising waters, you know, your family, everybody's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you just thought it was going to be a fun time, you know, camping.
And it's a helicopter rescue that takes you out. I mean, it's an experience you want to chat about, but you know, it's pretty scary as heck.
Yeah, unless you're the family of that one woman who didn't survive, right?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, grateful that 100, you know, there was over 100 people that were rescued and survived. So grateful that happened, and people were smart enough, because, you know, I've heard that this area can be just like Catterskill Falls area, that people don't prepare to hike 13 miles in and spend 3 days at a reservation. So, you know, doing their own thing on hiking. You know, it's just, and that's when I talk about social media kind of helps out with this situation, because there's a lot of social media pages that I follow with the Havasupai, and they do awesome recommendations on what gear to have, what food to have. It's stuff like, other stuff. It's actually phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, we hope everybody was prepared, but kudos to those volunteers that stepped in and, put together that evacuation effort. That must have been quite an undertaking.
Yeah, definitely. Helicopter rescues and stuff like that, all done by the reservation and not done by like any of the like the U.S. Coast Guard and stuff like that, and National Services, stuff like that, all done by the reservation. So amazing job.
No, I was going to ask, is there any word on how the locals are doing out there? If they've gotten that much rain, how are they doing?
So it has been closed indefinitely. And that area, the Havasupai area, going down into that area is basically the only way they survive is off of us white people.
Yeah. The tourism.
Yeah, well, that's too bad.
So they've had this happen before, and they've recovered. It's taken a long time. I remember a couple of years ago when they had a similar incident, and it knocked them off their feet, like COVID and stuff like that, but they've recovered. And so I'm willing to go back there again. Not again. I'm willing to go back there. Greg Calabrese went there and chatted about his time there. And he said it was once in a lifetime experience. And, if they lower the prices, maybe I'll be, thoughtful of what they do. On to the next topic. So, a while back, I don't even remember what this episode was. I talked about Woodstock having a Xena development come along. So this area is outside of the Bluestone area of Woodstock. We're looking kind of to the east of Woodstock, outside of the Escarpment Trail, and then we're going to take an huge area and make it into a area full of development, golf courses, stuff like that. I consider this kind of rich people stuff, but they said it would be available to development for people who couldn't afford housing and stuff. And they had a recent meeting in Woodstock on August 22nd, and I don't think it went well for Xena. A lot of people, of course, were against it in the Woodstock area, and I heard that the whole town court was overfilled. People were outside listening. They had speakers like on the outside projecting what people were saying. So, and it was a very interesting article to read about. And Tad, you're kind of familiar with this more than I am, correct?
Well, I'm not familiar with this project and the details of this project, but I have an interest in land development, zoning, and conservation. And this is an instance where mobilizing the locals to organize and put forth an effort to defend their community is important. And I saw that the local opposition does have a webpage. They appear to have a high level of organization, and they're marshaling their local talent to oppose this application, because one of the things you have when a developer comes into a community like this, that developer has the backing and funding of investors, and they can pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into hiring consultants, lawyers, putting together analysis to come up with favorable conclusions for the development, claiming that there's going to be no adverse environmental impacts, et cetera, et cetera. And then the municipality is caught, with the limited budget. They haven't budgeted in advance, presumably, for somebody coming in and trying to do this large-scale development. So having a local body that can mobilize itself and put together a meaningful opposition is a good thing, and it's part of being an American and participating in your local government, is being able to do something like this. So best of fortune to the locals who are fighting for their home turf. And while wise and sound development is a necessity, people need a place to call home on the one hand. On the other hand, to the extent that this development fills or doesn't fill that need, it just might be all luxury second homes that soaks up area available for your local workforce and your local volunteers. I mean, one of the problems we have in the Hudson Valley, especially the lower Hudson Valley, is so many of the people that live here have to work downstate to afford their homes, that during the day when there's a call for a volunteer fire response or volunteer ambulance response, those volunteers are working over an hour away. So It's during the day that we need a lot of cross-department, cross-district support. It's a growing problem, and eventually people are going to find themselves having to pay for professional responders.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my 2 cents. Maybe I gave you a nickel's worth, but that's it.
No. Well, no. So the initial plan was 625 acres, mostly in Woodstock, and more than 190 homes and 18 pro-level golf course that include a helipad. So now it has been downscaled to 100 acres, 106 acres to be exact. And just, Woodstock is fighting tooth and nail about this, and it's been a long-going process, as it always is, with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, when you say it's been downsized from 625 acres to 100, it's not as if that other 525 acres goes away. That's just open for development at some later date. So often you get these developers that come in, they'll downsize their project to get their foot in the door. And then after the first phase sells out, then they'll come in and look to develop the second phase, the third phase.
No. Yeah. Sarah, where are you located? Where do you live?
I'm near Saratoga. And it's interesting because we do see a lot of that in the Saratoga area. I had family who lived their whole lives in Saratoga, and over the years there's been a lot of higher end apartment buildings going in where just you're looking at thousands of dollars a month rent, and it's a lot of people feel like they're being squeezed out of the area because housing is just unaffordable.
Yeah.
So I kind of can sympathize with the people of Woodstock. It's a little scary when developers want to come in and they have all these grandiose ideas for your community. And it sounds good on paper, but like you said, once the foot is in the door, where does it go from there?
Yeah, and often these projects aren't being developed for the existing local population that, like I said, makes up your volunteer workforce, makes up your workforce that's working cafe jobs, coffee shop jobs, local business jobs, people that are getting paid at or just above minimum wage. It's hard for them to afford for a 2-bedroom home like it is, or apartment in the Hudson Valley. You can spend $2,000 a month plus utilities for a 2-bedroom place. And then, maybe you want health insurance, because that's kind of a good idea. A car to get around from, because no matter where you live in the Hudson Valley, you're 20 minutes or more from where you want to be. So you need a car, you need auto insurance. And it's a shame that people work 2 jobs just to get these basic necessities. And so for them, going out and renting a tent site, in the Grand Canyon or in a canyon out west, or, just go hiking someplace, it's quite a luxury for them that they have a hard time affording. So it's nuts.
Good point. Yeah. And I like to do this stuff because it gets people educated on, what's happening somewhat inside the Catskills, outside of the Catskills, and might, bring attention to it. And it's reopening again September 26th at 7 p.m. at a much larger venue at Mescal Hornbeck Community Center at 56 Rock City Road in someplace. I'm pretty sure it's Hornbeck, and as you can see, the first time wasn't as big as they thought it would be, and it's happened. It's exploded, and who knows where it goes from here? We'll see. We've seen this stuff happen before, of course, in Wyndham and Hunter and stuff, and it's been rejected. So kudos to the people of Woodstock sticking up for the Catskills and making this kind of like a place that is rock solid, and we'll keep it in. But we'll see where it goes from here. I'll keep everybody updated. So
Keep us posted.
hell yeah. So the one thing I wanted to talk about that was actually really, really funny. Well, hold on. So a search and rescue team accidentally finds Jay Leno while looking for a missing hiker in California.
Well, just, they say they found Jay Leno. It implies that Jay was lost. I didn't realize that he was lost.
It's hard to miss that chin.
I
Yeah,
know, right?
Yeah.
And those vehicles that he has, he's freaking riding around $700,000 vehicles all the time.
Or more.
Yeah, right. So a
Crazy.
search team looking for a missing hiker in the Angeles National Forest of Southern California stumbled upon an unexpected surprise when they encountered none other than Jay Leno. Thankfully, they located their missing person later on. So later on in San Dimas Mountain Rescue Team explained that on August 17th, a very fit and experienced 78-year-old hiker identified as Mr. Yang had gone without a group hiking expedition on the summit of Mount Waterman, just outside of Los Angeles. However, when the rest of the party returned to the parking lot, they realized he was no longer with the group. Now, that's one thing I'm trying to comprehend, that you no longer know that somebody outside of your group is not with your group, a couple hours later. So he was missing reported about 3 p.m. Search and rescue team suited up, looking for him practically everywhere for the next 12 hours, and they found Jay Leno, unfortunately, on the Rendezvous area drive, which was not where they were looking for the missing hiker, but where they turned up outside of the trail. So they posted photos immediately, of course, instead of going out.
Of photos of Jay Leno.
Correct.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. I'll post this in the notes, but there was a happy ending finally after about 8 hours of searching after they saw Jay Leno, with help from local hikers, which seems to be the thing that's happening again. Once again, social media kind of plays a good role in this. Mr. Yang was in good health but dehydrated. All told that he spent about 30 hours in the wilderness and was airlifted to safety and reunited with his family. Now, Sarah, one of the most important things when guiding and with being with a group of people is what? Can you give your thoughts?
Yeah, staying together. You hear this so often. People, I don't understand how you can realize 2 hours later that someone in your party is missing, unless you've purposely separated or just haven't tried to stick together. That drives me crazy.
100%. And we've had this happen a couple times in the Catskills.
Mm-hmm. It happens a lot. It's probably a lot more than a couple times. I've heard horror stories.
Yeah. And, there was that incident on the Big Indian where I think it was like Hudson Valley hikers, they have like a kind of like an agreement of you're responsible for yourself and such, but they left someone on the top of Big Indian and they went over to Fur, went back down, and they were missing. Yeah. It was crazy. And the person was found like a day later down on the lean-to, and it was absolutely insane. And I just don't understand, I'm hiking with anybody and everybody I do. It's hike your own hike, but I hike those persons' hikes. I kind of hike what they want to hike, what makes them comfortable.
Yep.
When I hike with the group, I don't mind being the sweet person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take, if there's somebody else out front leading, calling out the way, I don't mind stepping to the back of the line, making sure everybody stays together. Nobody drops off the tail end. And it's good because often the person in the back, they're straggling, they're struggling, they're huffing, they're puffing, and they don't hear the sudden approach of the mountain lion coming through the woods towards them. So if you're back and if you know what to do, you're able to pivot, turn, and protect them in that final moment as the mountain lion is, lunging towards them out of the field of nettles.
Right.
Just saying. So.
And you're going to want a slow person with you at all times, because everybody knows the best way to avoid a mountain lion attack is to be the fastest runner in your group.
Survival of the fittest. It's basic Darwinism.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you leave your slow people behind, What do you have? You have nothing.
Yeah. Well,
You're
eventually the mountain lions will catch up with the fit people after they off the slower people. So it's better. Yeah, it's better to have a few sacrificial, slow people. That's why when I'm going to hike with a group, I bring Stosh along, try to stay
Yes.
close to him. The mountain lion approaches. I just kind of yell out, "Hey, do anything you want to Stosh. Leave me alone." And then I run away. It works.
Run.
So,
But I have that Swiss Army knife that I can like,
That's true.
wah,
Yeah.
and then stab it into its neck, and then just like, you're done.
is that the one with the corkscrew?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
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 Leave no. That's a whole 10 essentials. Is the Swiss
Yeah.
Army knife.
Yeah. Well, because there's 10 things on the Swiss Army knife. One is
Yeah.
an essential for something.
Exactly.
But then I
Those
have
kni-
to ask, what do you do with the knife? How do you cut your cheese after you've stabbed a mountain lion with it?
That's the best time to cut the cheese. What do you mean? How do you cut your cheese? Now you can relax. Now that you know that you've slain the mountain lion, right? And it's not going to be coming after you. You can sit back, put your back up against the nearest hemlock, unfold your cheese in front of you and take some nice slices of it. Maybe have some Gatorade or wine, or Stosh would have a cider or two, and you can relax. You can enjoy the hike.
But do you use the same knife? Do you have to have a separate knife? It feels like there's cross-contamination.
Sarah, I'm
Wow.
surprised. Yeah. I mean, I thought you were a Catskill hiker. I thought you would have known all about
with my
this.
cheese. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't get behind that.
She,
No,
and Tad,
Yeah.
she teaches wilderness first aid. She knows all about this stuff. So she's
Yeah,
asking
she's
the good
just pulling
questions.
our leg. Okay. All right.
Bloodborne
I get it.
pathogens.
You guys are just teasing me.
Bloodborne
right, yeah.
pathogens. Holy, she knows all about
All
it.
right.
She's going deep on us now. Pathogens. I can't even say that.
Yeah.
Is that like a herd pathogen or
Pathogen.
a social pathogen?
Every path leads to gin.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Figured
You need to
guys would know
copyright that.
alcoholics.
We're not even a half hour into this. We're off the rails already. This is bad.
It says
Right.
it says 37 minutes, but I don't think it's accurate. But
No, we
It's-
got a little late kickoff.
yeah,
Stosh had technical problems again.
indeed. So one of the more unfortunate accidents that has happened recently is a 72-year-old hiker was found dead just below the summit of Mount Washington, New Hampshire. So this on Thursday, which was, of course, last Thursday, the 15th, a hiker was found dead on the Mount Washington area. Several first responders made their way up to retrieve the man's body and bring him back to the medical examiner's office for autopsy. And the exact cause of the man's death was still pending, but it appears to be the hiker likely succumbed to environmental exposure. Once again, Mount Washington is absolutely insane and could occur to anything at any time and anywhere. He was wearing only jeans, a raincoat, and hiking boots, which sounds appropriate for a 72-year-old man hiking. I mean, that's what they did it back in the days. And definitely not comparative with conditions that were there and that are still currently present, which were each day we're going lower and lower at the night of weather. We recently had some snow in Oregon and stuff like that. And once again, these times up in the mountains, we're talking about the high peaks areas, not in the Catskills yet, but are prime conditions for hypothermia and weather related injuries because, after the times of when the sun goes down, it could be, 10-mile-per-hour winds and below the temperature of 30 degrees. And if you're out there unprepared, you could have problems. And so, unfortunate incident.
That's really sad. That's tough.
Yeah, it is sad. And you don't know what the precipitating factors were in terms of him basically being stranded up there. Did he injure himself and he wasn't able to move onward and just kind of like settled down in one spot for the night, but wasn't able to, weather through the night, or, was he lost, disorientated? It's interesting. But one of the things that seems apparent from that article is he did not have a satellite communication device I mean, I'm assuming he was conscious. I mean, he could have fallen down, hit his head, and been unconscious on the one hand, but on the other hand, it seems probable from the story that he was conscious and alert, but apparently didn't have a device to, relay to others his circumstances.
Yeah. And, Sarah guides in these kind of locations up in the Adirondacks and such, and she knows above exposure. So Sarah, like, you can say exposure, that is a very serious problem.
Yeah, it is. It's scary. And the scariest part is just the people who don't realize, because how do you know? Until you've got the experience, a lot of people just don't know how different it is at the summit. I was at Cascade just a couple weeks ago, and most of the people coming down were so shocked to find that it was chilly up on the summit. And right in the middle of summer, they were all complaining about how cold they were. And, that's just Cascade. Fortunately, that's a pretty quick hike. But Mount Washington is a completely different ballgame. And, a lot of the peaks in the Adirondacks, it's the same thing. If you go out there unprepared, the base of the mountain is a beautiful, sunny, warm, comfortable day. And by the time you get to the summit, the conditions can be completely different. And Tad, like you were saying, who knows what happened? If he, you twist your ankle, that slows you down considerably.
Correct.
Then you don't have the ability to keep yourself warm and keep yourself moving.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard of a recent incident that they had up in New Hampshire of where people did their personal locator beacon. They alerted 911. They told them, you do have like sleeping bags and stuff to keep you warm. And they're like, yeah, well, get in them for overnight and you'll be fine until the morning. And that's what they did. And they were fine. And they made them their way down to the Cog Railway and finally got a ride down from the Cog Railway. So apparently, once again, a personal locator beacon could be a life or death situation, but it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's, these personal locator beacons, some people think they're overkill when you're trail hiking to popular places, but you could be the last one coming down and something happens to you and nobody else is coming along for the rest of the day. And that personal locator beacon or satellite messenger is the device that can save you. And also when you're out bushwhacking, one of the reasons that I use to justify my getting one is I really doubt anybody would find me for a couple of days, So to narrow down that search area is important to me, at least.
I think they're worth every penny.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the spots we all go to, with our interest in bushwhacking and interest in just getting out of the way of people, it's just, they're definitely worth it. I'll agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So unfortunate incident, of course, on Mount Washington. So, all right. So thank you for shooting the shit, Sarah. Really appreciate it. Especially with you being on the phone, this is like the second time this has happened. The only other time this has happened is, of course, with you.
Oh, come on, really?
No, I'm my takeaway is Sarah spends so much money sponsoring this podcast. Yeah. She can't even afford any technology to get on Zoom. She's on a I heard it was a payphone. I think I hear you putting quarters in like every 3 minutes.
The operator comes on.
Yeah.
Yep. You have 5 minutes. All right. So thank you to the monthly supporters, Darren, Vicky, John, Betsy, Denise, Vanessa, Joseph, Jim C, Michael, David, and Vanessa. Really appreciate you guys supporting the show. Also, thank you very much to the sponsors of the show, Scenic Route Guiding. Really appreciate you supporting the show.
What route guiding again was that?
Scenic Route Guiding.
Route guiding. Yeah.
Yes. If you're ready to hit the trail, make sure you take the scenic route. Their guides are to help you with your goals, big or small, like Marcy or Slider to Lone of the Sewers. Check out Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code Mountain Lion. Sarah, you have a little involvement with Scenic Route Guiding, correct?
Yeah, I was going to ask, who are they? They sound like jerks.
Yeah. They're
a little bit
weirdos, but they're fun. They're fun.
Weirdos.
So also check out Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She's an officiator for getting married, a licensed guide, but most important, she's a story maker. Molly won't just give you photos, she'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. So, what are you drinking tonight, Sarah?
Well, I think a better question you should be asking me is, what are you wearing, Sarah?
Oh, what do you? Oh, what?
This isn't that type of show. Okay, I mean, my wife could be listening. I mean, what's going on here?
That's a stash. You know this. You know this.
Is it like
you know the answer to this one?
Oh, it's Tad. You would have known this answer if you were there.
Oh, I saw the post. I saw the post. She was transformed. I'm not going to say dressed up because I'm not sure it was a costume or a transformation, like a metamorphosis.
A metamorphosis. I like that.
Into a mountain lion.
Mountain lion.
So if we to determine, because we can't visualize you, to make the determination with respect to whether it's a costume or a genetic alteration, can you just give us one mountain lion roar?
Maybe at the end of the podcast.
Okay, that'll keep everyone listening. Yeah, everyone's gonna have to stay tuned to the bitter end, and then we'll reveal. We'll have the revelation at the end. All right.
So, Sarah, you having a coffee or a water?
I am having a bottle of water.
Nice.
Yep.
Gotta keep yourself hydrated. That's nice. Tad, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I'm having some Costa Rican coffee that I roasted up this weekend and brewed just moments before we got online. It's quite tasty.
It's fancy.
Yeah, it's chock full of caffeine. That's what makes it yummy.
A little too fancy for me. I'm having a Awestruck Viking. So it looks like a lavender series hard cider. So,
and you called me fancy? I wasn't like calling out the color of my coffee. You've got like lavender, this, that. Hold that back up again.
It's a little bubbly. It's purple.
Yeah, a little bubbly. All right.
Sugar water purple.
Awestruck should be one of our sponsors. We should get them signed up and get at least free cider for you.
That would be nice.
That sounds like the type of drink somebody who pays $500 a night for a campsite would drink.
You know it, Sarah. You know it. The people that want a home with the helipad in Woodstock. That's the type we're talking about.
Fancy golf courses.
Yeah, right. I think Stasha's cap says Titleist on it. Lean forward. Is that a golfing cap? Yeah, it is. Titleist.
Ottawa Senator. Come on.
Pro Series Ottawa Senator. Yeah.
All right. Previous hikes.
Golf course.
Previous hikes. Anybody been on a previous hikes they want to mention about? Tad, how about you?
I haven't. I didn't hike at all last weekend. You know that. I was shackled against my will underneath a pop-up. I mean, we could probably tell the story of putting up the pop-up that had, like, out of the 4 legs, only 2 were working. I don't know if you noticed. I noticed. I didn't say anything at the time because I didn't want to gross you out. But did you notice that one of those legs that wasn't working, that was kind of like broken and kept sliding down? It looked like somebody's finger was stuck in it. Did you see that?
Did not notice that.
Yeah, I did. It was like all black and blue and gnarly. It had maggots on it. It was pretty gross, frankly.
Well, you gotta be like that, man. That's not true. All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm some of this stuff I am making up.
So Tad and I were at the Woodland Valley campground doing some trailhead stewardship with the 3500 Club and the New York State DUC. So it was a good time. There's a very slow day. We only saw 25 hikers. It was absolutely slow for a beautiful, 75-degree day, I believe. 71 at the summit, but with no wind. So it was kind of warm, but we saw very little hikers.
Yeah, I'd say it was perfect conditions for a hike in the Catskills on Sunday, if not the entire weekend. And we all know, all of us Catskill hikers know, that Wittenberg is a very popular mountain to hike. And we had a total of 25 hikers for the day.
25.
Wow.
Yeah. The parking lot at best was maybe 2/3 full.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was not overcrowded. It wasn't crowded at all. Everybody was very, respectful and having a good time, and they looked reasonably well prepared or better. So Stosh and I did our thing. We
Nice.
chatted it up. We had, I don't know, Stosh shows up. I didn't really count, but we had 2 packages of cookies, right?
Yeah.
You had to me, it looked like, a year's supply worth of cookies, and not a lot of takers except for that one young kid. I put him at age 12. He came back for seconds, thirds,
Yeah.
maybe
Liam.
fourths. Yeah, Liam, that was it. Yeah. I think that was the best part of the day for him, was the cookies at the end.
Yeah, his dad didn't want him to touch those, but he came back. He had 6, and then he came back for seconds, and he took 8 more. So
Yeah.
good for him.
Liam spending this weekend at the dentist's office.
Yeah, they're great people. I got to admit, we taught a couple people how to read a map and such like that. One of the ladies that we talked with was going to hike in the New Hampshire area with Eric Todd Sweet, the most famous New Hampshire hiker. Yeah, that guy's super cool. But she didn't know how to read a map though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. You know what they did? Cornell and Wittenberg recently. He came to the Catskills. That's right. That must have been. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's a very cool dude and such. But she didn't know how to read a map, so we taught her how to read a map. So it was pretty cool.
I think people just get intimidated. She can read a map. I think she just needed someone to sit down and point a few things out to her. I do think people it's daunting for a lot of people.
She took it really well, and she understood what we were talking about and such. So hopefully she learns.
Yeah. Well,
You're doing the Lord's work. I love it.
Yeah. Right. But we never saw her again.
Right.
She should have been back in the parking lot at least an hour before we left. And no, we never saw her again. I think her car's still there. But we did teach her how to read a map. That we know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you guys taught her how to read the map.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for your sponsorship. We appreciate the support. I think what I read is she hooked up with Jay Leno on the trail.
It's like, hey, I'll try to back
up there and lost. Yeah.
So cool time at Woodland Valley. If you want to sign up for the 3500 Club Trail at Stewart, it's a pretty cool time. Sarah, what did you end up doing?
Yeah, my last hike was a pretty special one. I went with Yana, my friend Yana, and a group of people. We did the Rock Shelter Trail to the Mary Glen Trail and up to the escarpment so that Yana could finish the last, I think, 0.2 miles of her All Trails Challenge.
Wow.
She had somehow missed 0.2 of a mile. She had hiked up the escarpment to a certain lookout, and then she hiked the other direction to one of the other lookouts and missed that space in between. And that was before she was interested in doing the All Trails Challenge, so it wasn't really on her radar. And as she's going over her spreadsheet and her map, she realized, oh man, I've got this nice little 0.2 of a mile I have to cover. So she's kicking herself, I think, a little when she first realized it, but it worked out perfectly because we had an awesome day. Bunch of people it poured to start with. Mm-hmm. So, we were swimming through the parking lot, and as soon as we were ready to hit the trail, it just cleared right up. It was foggy. It was gloomy, spooky. It was just a good day. Very good day.
Those gloomy, spooky, foggy days. Yeah, they're the best day to be under the canopy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're
comfortable.
Yeah, if you're hiking for a view on a day like that, you're not going to get it. But if you're, going to take in what's underneath the canopy and all those surroundings, those are fun days to be in the Catskills. So sounds good. So she finished it off, and did she announce what her next challenge, if any, is going to be?
Yeah, we're trying to figure that one out.
Yeah.
I think she's going to let me finish this one, and I think she's got a few ideas in mind. I've got a few ideas in mind. I'm hoping maybe they'll coordinate so we can keep doing our hikes together.
Cool.
bird
She's
watching.
accomplished a lot.
She's walked a lot of miles. She really has. She is she's very motivated. She
Yeah.
really gets it done. Yeah, she's amazing. But it's funny, in the middle of all the hiking, she doesn't just do that one thing. You know what I mean? It's I don't know how she gets it all done. Where some people focus on the grid and that's all they do. But she's concurrently got multiple projects going on that she manages to get them accomplished.
Yeah.
Like she does birding and stuff like that,
Yeah.
all over the place. She's done I'm pretty sure she's done the 115 and the 67,
Yeah.
46er. She's all over the place, and super jealous of what she's done.
Her grid. Finished her grid.
Grid, right?
Yeah, and the birding. She's amazing with her bird watching. I guess there are blocks that you have to go and record certain species of birds. So while she's finishing her all trails, on the way home from a hike, she'll say, "Oh, there's this block. I have to go, record some whatever it is she's recording." She tells me, "I'm getting better, but I'm not there yet." I can recognize the oven bird.
Do you ever call her a boomer? Be like, God, boomer, you
No,
birding stuff?
Oh, that's not
No,
nice.
it's not nice.
But
That's awful.
it's funny because I'm starting to do that as well. I'm just like, ooh, that is a wood thrush.
Yeah.
Or I know wood thrush, like a blue jay, a catbird, and that's about it.
I got to see and hear the Bicknell thrush a few
Wow.
weeks ago. Mhm.
How
From
much
Sean.
different? How much different is it than the wood thrush?
I can't remember what a wood thrush. Don't tell Yana. I don't remember what a wood thrush looks like, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, I will have to. I'll ask her. Probably not too much different. I mean, what's a wood thrush look like? A little brown bird?
It's very
That
similar.
That narrows it down a little, brown bird.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was little. It was brown. It was.
And it looks
bird-like.
like wood. It looks like wood with some wings on it. That's how I know what they are.
Yes. Yeah. No, but it was pretty awesome. We actually ran into Jim and Margaret.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was a pretty good day for me. Got to
Try to
see
get-
those two and the Bicknell.
And try to get the can man on here, but he doesn't like technology, and then apparently he doesn't like Zoom, but he participates in Zoom all the time. So I gotta pound that into his head.
Yeah, he would actually, I'm not trying to bully him, but he would be a wonderful guest
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have on. He's got so much. Now, the problem I have with Jim is I never know if he's telling me the truth or not. He gives me a lot of information, but sometimes I think he sends me on wild goose chases. I think he makes up stories just to see me jump through hoops.
Yeah. Well,
But you do the same for him with your writings in the lean-tos.
That was not me. I am innocent of those charges. Now, I will tell you, I have done it on multiple occasions. And when I looked at that, I thought, that does look like mine, but it wasn't, because that was from this year. So that was definitely not mine. I think somebody's out there copycatting me.
I think it was an AI generated entry myself.
It did seem like AI.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So good. I was hopefully going to get out today, but I slept in. I felt like sleeping in. It was a great time. I'm sorry. I felt bad.
That's
I was
nice.
gonna go to Platikill Ski Resort, the area, and do the north side, but I just decided to sleep in. So screw that. Next week though. I did get out though. I will say, Tad and Sarah, that I did get out to Bel Air last week and did their disc golfing course on the lower part. Absolutely phenomenal time. It was beautiful. And I just don't understand why they pump all this money into millions and millions of dollars into a ski resort, but they can't replace a sign over on the Seeger area showing where Big Indian and Eagle is.
Yeah, I'm
Silence, complete silence.
no, I mean I misspoke last week when I said that Wyndham was the state-owned and run area. It's Bel Air, and that's one of my look. I for decades was an avid skier. I've skied at Bel Air and Wyndham and Hunter and Plattekill and a ton of ski areas over the years. But if I was a ski area owner operator and the state of New York was competing with me, putting in gondolas, having basically an unlimited snowmaking budget, not being able to worry about whether they make a profit or a loss in any given year because they're backed by the state of New York. I mean, that's pretty tough for another local operator to swallow. And then I don't know if you're going to bring up tonight or not bring up tonight the situation on Balsam Lake and the cabin. But
that might be next week.
Okay, so next week, remind me if you want me to queue up and do a rant about how much money got dumped into Bel Air and other projects that don't see any money.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They
All right.
need to do something about that.
Yeah, I'm ready to move along.
Yeah. We'll move along. So once again, thank you guys for getting out and enjoying the areas of the Catskills. So once again, Catskill News Volunteer 3500 Club, Catskills Trail Crew, Catskill Mountain Club Visitors Center, Jolly Rover Trail Crew, and the Blamey Mountain Fire Tower are all looking for volunteers. Excuse me. Also, stickers. If you want stickers, get a hold of me or go to Camp Catskill. Ryan Penny from Camp Catskill told me that they're out of stickers and I need to send them more. I was just like, you're lying to me. That's not real. I guess it's real. So I got to send them stickers. So
They're nice stickers. I could see them going really quickly.
Yeah, I've been selling them on eBay myself, making a fortune.
Mother.
Yeah. That's how I afford these fancy headphones.
I sign it Stosh. Your good friend Stosh.
Yeah,
STOSH.
I just sign it SR with an exclamation mark.
Nice.
That's it.
Scenic
Nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's as an equivocal meaning, so people interpret out of it what they want.
I like that.
SR.
Yeah. So this weekend, let's talk about the weather forecast. So Friday looks to be beautiful. A high of 59, a low of 55 with very minimal winds, clear. As we go into Saturday, some clouds, a little bit of light rain into the morning and afternoon, a high of 63, a low of 57. The heavier rain will be into the night. So if you're going to go out on a backpacking trip, be prepared for the heavy rain on the night. Sunday, rain showers in the morning, some clouds in the afternoon. That's going to turn into a beautiful day later on. A low later on in the night of 43, but a high of 66. So it's going to look to be a pretty good day Sunday if you're getting out a little bit later. So once again, pack that rain gear because we're in the time of year where it could rain, it could not rain. A little spark of a rain shower could happen. And you never know, it could dampen you and we could have high winds and it could chill you down. So, yeah. So,
Happens.
It does. So let's get on to some sponsors, the last set of sponsors. So have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking or even just brush up on some of your old skills in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have amazing backgrounds in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and the Mountain Rescue Association, and they're here for you to learn old and new schools of hiking and backpacking. They teach anything from first aid, map and compass, and many other skills that can help you and others while on the trail. Check them out on all social media platforms. Also, is it time for some new gear hiking the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs: footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze-dried meals, and even more. Catskill merchandise is always available. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs. Located in Tannersville and online, check out Camp Catskill. Also, if you want free stickers, stop here in Tannersville. So, check out Another Summit, a nonprofit program that leads outdoor adventures and activities for veterans and first responders for free. Apply today on anothersummit.org. So let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
I
Oh,
don't
is that
know.
me?
Who is that? That's you.
I think no. I thought
that's
tonight.
me.
I thought we were having a mountain lion on the show tonight.
A previously known not mine. So Sarah Braken is here tonight. How do you say your other part of your name?
That's my maiden name, Prestigiacomo or Prestigiacomo. It depends on, I guess, who in the family you talk to. But shortened to Presti.
Rusty.
I don't know why.
That is
why
a very
happened.
tough name.
It's Italian. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is. But Sarah is going to be on here tonight to talk about her All Trails Challenge, and she is about to finish that up. And we're going to talk about the lesser traveled trails in the Catskills that you should participate in. And you know what? Tad's going to chime in on this because he's been involved in this as well.
Well, all she had to
Who's
say
Tad?
is Tad. Yeah, who
Who's
is
Tad?
Tad? Who is he? Is there a Tad? I'm not sure.
We already
But-
know about Tad. Who cares about Tad? Nobody cares about that.
Yeah. Tad who?
So, Sarah, why don't you tell us? I mean, you were on episode 7. 7, freaking
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm OG.
OG.
Yeah.
OG. So 130 episodes ago. So why don't you give a little background about yourself?
Well, let's see. I am the owner of the Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals. Yeah, I love to hike. I started guiding around 2019, and I'm a public school teacher. I'm a music teacher. That's my day job. So outdoor, education's always been important to me, and I love the outdoors. So I really thought I'd be doing a lot more of the outdoor education type classes, and it just kind of has evolved over the years into, we do just about everything. We dip our toes into just about everything. We do guided hikes, we do group hikes. My friend Chad Simpson with Northern Ridgeline, he does wilderness first aid trainings, and he invited me to assist him with those. So that was really exciting. We have one of those coming up in January if anybody's interested. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I love it.
So with Scenic Route Guiding, you started out by yourself, correct? And now has it blossomed into a couple people, right?
Yeah. I've got Sarah King is guiding for me. Katie Rhodes, she has taken a little hiatus because she is out in the Adirondacks doing amazing things. She's gone back to school and she's just crushing it. She's incredible. So she's taken a little bit of a break. My friend Myra, she says she'd like to guide for me every once in a while. My buddy Sean. So it's nice. Yeah, we've got a
Myra and
nice.
Sean, ew, gross.
I know. Well, no, Sean, ew. Myra's great.
Myra's cool. She's got I gotta get a hold of her and tell her to come back on the show for Summit Sewers, please. But Sean,
Oh, what would you have him on for?
I had him on for winter summer or winter stuff, and it was just absolutely atrocious.
Only episode I didn't listen to.
Yeah. So
Just kidding.
So now you've blossomed Scenic Route Guiding,
Yeah.
and you guys do Catskills and Adirondacks, Hudson Valley area.
Yes. Yep. We've gone over to Vermont a little bit, but it's primarily Adirondacks and Catskills. And it's nice because I've got Sarah and Katie. They like to stick to the Adirondacks. Myra and Sean, they like the Catskills. I'm midway between both. So it's easy for me to get to either one.
Nice.
So we kind of have it all covered. It's nice.
So congratulations on your program and such like that. I support that, of course, the local area guiding. And the big question is of the night, the huge question is, why would you support this horrible podcast? Why don't you want to go with like the DEC podcast and stuff?
Well, listen, I wanted to sponsor Sounds Like a Search and Rescue, but they are too rich for my blood. They sent me the paperwork. It's like they wanted my kidney, my firstborn. It was a lot. I didn't want to sign up for that. And then I thought, well, listen, Stosh takes Apple Pay, so why not? And then the problem with Apple Pay is I have no idea how to cancel it. I tried. God knows I tried, and I wound up canceling my Cheese of the Month club. So I thought,
Jesus,
I can't take that risk.
This is becoming hurtful.
This is
gonna need
great.
therapy. Yes.
this is why I have her back on the show.
Sarah, with trash talk like that,
Listen,
You're-
you
Yeah,
asked me this. What do I tell you, Stash?
Yeah.
You tell me. What have I told you? Why do I support your show?
Because you're desperate. Well, I don't know.
No, I'm tabling the turn on you here. No, because I believe in what you're doing. You're doing a good job. You have great taste in guests, right?
And I gotta admit, it's fun, and with the sponsors of the show, I enjoyed, putting out what you guys kind of deserve somewhat, is not just the algae stuff like that, the most known stuff of the podcast, of the Catskills. You deserve what is not known of the podcast, of the of the Catskills, talk about the reservoirs and stuff. It gets you interested in the Catskills instead of, what is this invasive species that's happening over on this area that you already know about?
Well, and that's the thing. I think if people are more invested in the area, they're going to take better care of the area. Just like you were talking about, what's going on in Woodstock. It's more than just hiking. We can show up, those of us who don't live in the communities, you need to take an interest in the community in order to really care about what you're doing and where you are. And I think you getting the word out and educating people is important. We love the Catskills and things like that's all part of the culture. Things that are going on in these areas. It's important.
Yeah. And I appreciate you supporting this podcast. And it's very, I feel very humbled, especially since you've been here from the beginning, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you stick with me this long, which is absolutely insane. Over 130 episodes. Jesus Christ. That's insane.
And you know what? I think we needed a Catskill podcast. When I first started hiking in the Catskills, I did a search. I was late to the podcast game, but when I discovered podcasts, my life was changed. And I searched for Catskills podcasts, and there are a couple out there. But, I think you do a really good job of highlighting, in addition to the communities, the personalities. And one thing that makes Catskill hiking unique are the personalities, are the people who are out there. And I think that's important. You do a good job. You do good work. And listen, I would not sponsor you if I didn't believe in you, because that Cheese of the Month Club is expensive. I don't get the deluxe.
I mean, you're at a parking lot supporting this show, so
listening to podcasts before you go home, right? Getting your fill. That's
absolutely.
Some people are home watching Netflix. Sarah's in a Stewart's parking lot someplace, curled up in her car, drinking water, eating cheese, and doing podcast work.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Cool.
It's a life. I like it. I've got a good one.
Somebody's got to do it. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. Dressed like a mountain lion, no less.
Yes, that's when you go in to get the free water because everybody clears the area.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, on a more serious note, one of the things I've noticed since I've been doing this hiking gig for maybe 8 years now, you see people that start off hiking. For me, I see people starting off in the Catskills or in the Harriman area, and they do a round. Maybe then they do the winters, and then the next thing you know, they're getting their guiding license from the DEC. Mm-hmm. So, what is your advice? Or, you as somebody who's not only experienced in guiding, but you're running a guiding business, you have multiple guides working for you. Presumably you've nailed down how to do a guiding business. So what's your advice to somebody who's thinking about getting a license or just got their license? What's your words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think it's really important to always keep in mind that your time with them can make or break how they feel about hiking. I know that sounds pretty heavy, but
heavy as fuck.
Yeah, you have to be, I I mean, we've all had those days where we just don't want to be in the woods. You know, they are the best of times and they're the worst of times. But as a guide, you really cannot afford to have those worst of times. Hiking is more than just taking a walk for a lot of people. We have an emotional connection. Every footstep, for a lot of people, it's their therapy. It's how they process the events going on in their lives. For a lot of people, it is the biggest accomplishment maybe they have done in who knows how long. You know, this is a big deal for them. And you have to understand that it's more than just a hike for a lot of people. You know, as a guide, I've maybe hiked Marcy, I don't know, 7, 8 times. But for that person who, you know, breaks tree line for that first time, or let's pick something in the Catskills. We're talking about the Catskills, but it doesn't matter, you know, Devil's Path, wherever. It's that thing that they have been looking forward to. And it's a huge deal for them. And it's just important to always remind yourself that no matter how many times you've done that particular hike, this is their first time. And
Yeah.
you got to keep that in the back of your mind.
That's
Cool.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
gotta
because
agree.
it means so much to them. And, you know, it's easy to lose sight of that when you get into the drudgery of the business. You know, you're paying your insurance and you're doing your social media campaigns and all that stuff. You just have to really try to remember that magical feeling you had that first time you did that hike when you were new at it.
Yeah. And you know, I agree with you that it's hike your own hike, but when you're with someone else, you got to hike their own hike kind of as well to make them comfortable in the
Absolutely.
area, especially the Catskills, Adirondacks, and such like that. And you're running a business, it's all about them. And you have people like you and Sarah and such, and Myra and Sean, who are considerate of the area, and you know, maybe take a break here once here or there and teach them about, you know, these trees or what birds you hear or what mountain lions you might see upon the next area, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, people, like I said before, people are going to take better care of their natural world if they're invested in it. So, you know, I have 6-10 hours with them to show them as much as I can about the area so that they see the magic in it that we all know about, that it's more than just a trail, you know, and people are more inclined to vote for politicians who are going to, you know, send money to the Catskills, send money to the region if they love the area. So yeah, it's important. It's their hike, but you also want to make sure that you're giving them the information they need about it so they can feel connected to it.
Yeah. I mean, one of my radical ideas that I can segue from what you just said is that the DEC is investigating and considering what to do about the herd paths that are all over the untrailed or the summits without trails marked leading to the canister. And so they're considering what action they should take, if any. And I think one of the things they ought to consider is requiring people for at least one hike when they hike up one of those mountains to go with the guide. Somebody who can teach them the importance of those surroundings and how to travel over that terrain, causing the least amount of impact and appreciating what's taken literally not just hundreds, but thousands and tens of thousands and millions of years to, become the natural habitat up there. So it's not just a drum up business for guides, but it's just to protect that environment, not only for the animals that call it home, but for future generations of hikers. You know, it's something that we've been privileged to enjoy during our lifetime, but 100 years from now, what would it be like for, younger folks that, folks that have any future generations? So.
I will agree with you on that. I would go as far as to say I'd volunteer my time for that. I don't think that it should be monetized. And that's a tough thing as a guide. monetizing the outdoors.
Yeah.
There's that fine line between, is it ethical? Yeah. I'm not taking money on behalf of public land. I'm sharing my expertise and my wisdom and keeping people safe while I'm out there. But I definitely agree with you. I would say though, I think it should not be something that people would have to pay for. I think it's such a limiting activity for a lot of people already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we need a lot more diversity in the hiking world, and there are populations of people who don't have access to the outdoors the same way that I do. I'm very privileged. I can grab my gear and go take a hike just about any time I want to. But yeah, I think that's important.
With the Catskill 3500 Club, they already have hike leaders that provide that service, and they don't have to have the full-fledged guiding license that you have. I know just down the road from where I live in the Catskills, or not the Catskills, the Gunks, there's areas in the Gunks that you're only supposed to go into with somebody who has a certain level of training to escort you and guide you through that area, for your safety, but also for the safety of that environment. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think that's too much to ask to protect those areas in the Catskills that are sensitive. And I'm also saying it doesn't, have to be that every time somebody goes up there, they need to go up there with somebody on the list. But maybe before you go up there, you should have at least one guided or educational hike into that area, and then demonstrate some level of proficiency. And I'm going to remind Stosh that in part, these thoughts, although I've had them for over a year, these thoughts were firmly cemented in my head 2 weeks ago when I was hanging out in the Shutt Road parking area watching what unfolded. So I'm just saying that. I'm just throwing that out there again.
Yeah. So once again, people like Sarah, guides and stuff teach you so much. So it's great to go out with a guide, once or twice, and then maybe get your foot in the door. So once again, thank you, Sarah, for doing that. Also, so what got you involved in the All Trails Challenge?
Yeah, well, just looking at the map, I love maps. I've always loved maps. We had talked about that woman you spoke with in the parking lot, Woodland Valley. I think most people do know how to read a map. I think it's daunting for a lot of people. The more time you spend with your map, the easier it gets, and look at what you guys were able to do for her. Just in the matter of a few minutes, you sat down with her and you pointed out a few things, and you really got her a good start. So just kind of poring over my maps, noticing that there was a lot more to the Catskills than just the 3500s, and it kind of start looking at these unusual names like Giggle Hollow. What's so funny about that trail? I'm curious. There's just a lot out there that I would see on my map and just start to wonder what that trail looked like. Also from a conservation standpoint, I am a big fan of Leave No Trace, maybe not the organization, but the concept that, I want to at least leave the areas I visit as good as I found them, if not better. So how can I do that? If I love these mountains and I want to hike and rehike all of these peaks, how do I justify that? How do I do it ethically? And one of the ways to do that is finding alternative routes. You can take a group of 15 or 20 people up the same trail or the same mountain every month, but is that necessarily the right thing to do for your environment? So starting to look at peaks I wanted to revisit, and maybe there's an alternative route, right?
Yeah,
so
yes.
I started doing that. I do love to bushwhack, and of course that's not related to All Trails, but just different ways of getting to places I wanted to visit again.
Yeah.
And yeah.
McKinley Hollow, Fox Hollow, Curtis Holmes Trail, going up from the Neversink area to the Slide. So many different areas to go up. And it's crazy when you go out to New Hampshire and stuff, and you see that there are 6, 7, 8 trails going up to leading us up to one mountain. And
Mhm.
you kind of wonder, is it good for the mountain? But it kind of is, because, you have a bunch of different options. You have a short way, you have a long way, you have a more scenic way, you have an easier or a more nature way. And, it's kind of like, when is this going to come to the Catskills? Somewhat, we have 2 ways up slide, sort of
Right.
3 ways up slide. Can there be more?
Mhm.
Should we offer more? Tad's having a little sideways head right there.
Yeah,
Like-
in part, it's a great idea, but I don't know what the percentage is of trail maintenance in the Catskills.
Correct.
That's undertaken by volunteers versus, paid for by the state and the DEC. And you don't want to get that trail network so far ahead of the volunteer and paid workforce that it just can't be maintained. It'd be nice to have, on the one hand, maybe some more hiking trails in the Catskills. On the other hand, it seems like we have a lot more than the state is willing to pay to be managed.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that the answer is creating more trails, but just being aware of your impact. And there are a lot of trails in the Catskills. They don't all lead to a summit, but or a view like Wittenberg. But just maybe stepping back and realizing there's a lot more to the Catskills than 3500s.
yeah,
There's a lot of magic out there. And, you're missing, 350 miles and change of trails in the Catskills. There's so much to see. You will never be bored.
So one thing I like to ask folks like you that have a broader spectrum than myself, I mainly just hike the Catskills these days. What is it that draws you to the Catskills versus the Adirondacks? Because where you live, it seems maybe even the Adirondacks are closer to you than the Catskills. So what brings you down here to do something like the All Trails Challenge?
Well, I have been focusing on the Catskills a little more because of the All Trails Challenge. I love the Adirondacks. I love hiking. I don't think I've met a mountain that I don't like, but as much as I love the Adirondacks, there is something so special about the Catskills for me. There have been so many magical moments in the Catskills that just, I don't know, I hate to sound cheesy, but the more I hike the Catskills, the more I believe in magic. And I don't know how else to say it. There's just something special to me about those woods and the trails, and I don't know. I think people who hike the Catskills understand that.
Yeah. I got to admit,
feel-
there is a whole different vibe down here in the
Mhm.
Catskills with the people that you meet and such like that. It seems like people in the Catskills are more out there for nature and more out there for the experience than to get the peaks. That's what I see. That's just me?
Yeah, I think it is a different vibe. I'm not knocking the Adirondacks. It's not a better vibe or a worse vibe. It's just different. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see that. I think the people in the Adirondacks are equally in love with the area and love it and care for it the way that the people in the Catskills do. There is a lot of crossover between Adirondacks and Catskills. Like I said, I've been spending a lot of time in the Catskills because of the All Trails Challenge. But yeah, there are differences just geographically.
Yeah. Well, and obviously there was different forces that formed each.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I have this uneducated and informal sense of is it's really hard if you're a Catskill hiker to brag about some ultra epic day climbing these peaks above trail lines with these epic winter conditions that are going to impress people that aren't even hikers, right? So I tend to think that after somebody does a round or two in the Catskills, unless they really love hiking there, they move on.
Yeah.
And the people like me, to a certain extent, I could drive to the Adirondacks. I could drive up to New Hampshire and hike those mountains. Obviously, they're further from me, and the Catskills are kind of a stone's throw. But I just kind of like in the Catskills, you're under the canopy, and I just feel closer and more connected with that wilderness and wild experience than I did decades ago when I climbed up in the Adirondacks, or recently when I climbed up in New Hampshire with my daughter. I kind of like was concerned on the way up that I was going to drive up there and then never want to return to the Catskills and hike, because, it just wasn't going to be the same. And although it was really, really cool doing the 2 hikes that we did, it didn't, cool off my enthusiasm for the Catskills. So, Sarah, we're glad that you love our Catskill Mountains and you're on our podcast.
You know what it is? Well, thank you. But there's a subtlety about the Catskills that I think maybe, because let's face it, you do hear a lot of Adirondack hikers knock the Catskills. We'll just get that out there, the elephant in the room. But I do think there's a subtlety about the Catskills that if you are looking for those big, epic, vast summit views, you're going to overlook. But if you just step back and allow yourself to see the beauty in it, you're hooked.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I'm an hour and a half from the Catskills, and to be honest, I'm like 4.5 hours from the Lodge and the Adirondacks. But I don't know why the Catskills just draw me, because I'm more away from people. I'm more away from stupidity, I guess, if I don't go to Catskill Falls and such like that. But I mean, it connects me with nature, and that's the way I am, I guess. If you love the Catskills, like you said with Tad and Sarah, you'll keep coming back and such. So Tad, you are doing this as well. I mean, you're probably not as close as Sarah is, but how much do you have left?
I have not made a tally sheet or
what the hell.
I'm just going by my GPS tracks and what trails, and I don't even know if they're part of the challenge or not. That's kind of what makes it fun for me, is not knowing what's on the list and what's off the list has me hiking every fucking trail I can find. Okay. And so some of them have been really cool. And when I maybe, at the end of summer, when I start really digging into my fall hiking plans, I'll look through and see what I have left to knock off. But I've hiked some cool stuff that I expect is not at all on that list. And I'm thankful that I didn't check the list and focus on the list, because I hit some stuff that was, out of bounds and cool and interesting. And I learned that because I got focused on doing the 420 for like the last 18 or 24 months that I was doing that. And so every weekend it was just knocking off mountains on my list. And so I've become adverse to looking at those lists. But I'm getting there. I bet you if there's 350 miles on the list, I can't imagine that I've got anything more than 10% to go. So
Nice. Yeah.
And nothing like Sarah. So Tad, you're out of this conversation. Sarah's in.
Yep. All right. So I'll see you next week, Stosh. Yeah. But just got kicked off the show. Stosh, you'll be hearing from my lawyers. The firm of, I just hired them. It's the firm of Do We Hike More and How? Do we hike more and how? They're my attorneys, and you'll be hearing from them.
I guess we'll have.
I feel like my parents are divorcing or something. What? Don't leave, Dad. Don't leave.
So, Sarah, with the lesser travels kind of like trails, what would you recommend that people would do that wouldn't be the area that they would see, like, like let's go up Balsam and such like that?
Yeah. You want lesser known recommendations is what you're asking? Yeah. I love anything in the Western Catskills. They are, for a lot of people, a real pain in the neck to get to. They are out there, but if you could get a buddy if you can work out traverses, that's really helpful. I love the area around Mongop State Park. That whole area, right around, I think it was Long Pond, in the beginning of July, was one of my favorite hikes out that way. We ran into this stand of cinnamon fern that were like, I mean, I'm kind of short, but it's still pretty impressive. They were up to my chin. So,
Wow.
it's amazing out there. And a lot of those trails, I don't think you get the feeling of being in the wild like you do out in the Western Catskills. A lot of those trails felt more like herd paths. And that was a really neat feeling. There were days, I did quite a few with Yana recently, the last 2 years and, or 2 seasons. And, we would go all day and we wouldn't see another human. And I love that feeling of remoteness and that feeling of just being the only one out there.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'll ditto those comments. And the irony is you're doing the All Trails Challenge, and sometimes if it weren't for the trail markers, you would not know you were on a trail.
Yeah.
Exactly. Depending on the time of year,
Yeah.
The fern take over the entire area. And it's beautiful, but it does get a little hairy out there. It's a little gnarly to try to figure out where you are. So thank God for trail markers.
Yeah. And you're talking about areas that are way far away from the more popular areas. I mean, we even talk about Bel Air. When you're going up Bel Air, the any area over there has ferns up to your chest that you're like, am I on the right spot? And then you see a summit or like a trail marker like 50 feet ahead, and you're like, okay, maybe I am. Let's plow through this. But
I'm keeping on.
yeah, but that feeling of walking through those ferns, besides thinking that you're going to get a tick on you, it's just so absolutely phenomenal. Makes me feel that it's just so wild.
Yes.
I can't, that is one of the most, that's why I kind of hate maintaining my section, because it has the ferns hanging over. And I'm like, people should experience this, because it's a feeling like no other, that you're kind of like, you're wild, you're out there, you're in the middle of wilderness. And I'm like, hey, like people are contacting me like, hey, this is overgrown. I'm like, hey, shut the hell up. It's actually nice.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I thank you for maintaining, by the way. Thank you for that work. But yeah, I think trail maintenance is important, but don't overdo it. The part of getting into the woods and being out in the wilderness is having that feeling. You don't want the trails to be too pristine.
Yeah, or you don't want them to be all rocks and tree roots,
Right.
because they're overused and heavily eroded, and it feels like you're just hiking up a riverbed, a dried up riverbed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So Tad, what about you? You got any recommendations on your All Trails Challenge that you want to give out to hikers?
Yeah, sir. So obviously the Western Catskills has a special charm to it. And one of the trails out there that stands out as memorable for me, let's see if Sarah has fond memories of hiking from Alder Lake out to Beach Hill Road along the Touch Me Not Trail.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah, that was, and I'm going to say that's, a very typical trail or segment of a trail for the Western Cats. But I'll also throw high on my list is hiking from Mount Tremper along the Warner Creek Trail up towards Plateau.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I like it out there.
Yeah, and that's more in the Central Catskills. It shows a little more foot traffic because, it's in a more popular area of the Catskills, but man, it's just oozing with that Catskill charm and that experience. And the Warner Creek in and of itself is just a scenic place. So that's high on my list. And then so here, I'll throw another one out there, which may or may not be part of the All Trails Challenge, but it's the Winter Cove Trail, hiking out of the Winter Cove End up the escarpment. But then you bang a right Yeah, then you
Mhm.
bang right along the escarpment to Jimmy Dolan Notch, or the Jimmy Dolan Trail, or Dutcher Trail going back
Dutcher
down.
Notch. Yeah.
Yeah, Dutcher Notch going back down. Yeah, that first of all, that segment of the escarpment doesn't get a lot of traffic. It's got a couple great views along the way. Just highly recommend that. It's something that's, the escarpment is obviously in bounds, but that's just a unique area, and that Dutcher Notch trail itself. I mean, when I hiked it, I'm just overcome with the sensation, or the mindset that, you know, 100 years ago and more, that this was a means of, you know, a thoroughfare for people with horses, ox carts, whatever they were using 100+ years ago for transportation to get through that area. So I thought that was cool.
You know, the trail I love out in that, I mean, anywhere in that area, you cannot go wrong, but I love that Mary Glen Trail. And then you take it down to Ashley Falls. That's not a hard hike for anybody who wants to just get a beautiful, beautiful hike in. That's a nice one. You can mix up loop.
Yeah.
Even doing that loop going up to, I call Ledge Falls. I don't think they call it Ledge Falls. And then continuing over to Newman's Ledge and then Artist Rock, Sunset Ledge will give you a awesome perspective of the Catskills. Will give you kind of like the muddy perspective, the beautiful views perspective, and then like a little downfall, like sort of towards the Sunset Ledge and stuff like that. And it'll give you all perspective in a short little amount of time in the Catskills that'll just break you in to be like, wow, this is fun, offers views, and, you know, it's not that long as well. So good point.
Yeah. And one of the things that's also cool about that area is I don't know if it's anywhere else in the Catskills, but along that whole ridge, or most of that ridge of the escarpment, is you have that dwarf pine or pitch pine forest.
Ah, yes.
Right.
Love that.
Yeah, and you don't see that elsewhere. It's very similar to what we find in the Gunks.
Yeah. And, you know, piggybacking upon your, you know, Sarah's and Tad's spot of Warner Creek Trail, that is phenomenal. Jessup Road going up to Tremper and such just gives you the whole different perspective of the Catskills, of kind of well-built trails that offer switchbacks, offer a different forest, offer some steep climbs as well. But just it offers everything that the Catskills has.
Yeah, including nettles. Let's not forget the nettles,
Yes.
because you are going to run into nettles along that trail. So,
No, I never, at Jessup Road and Warner Creek, I never ran into Neville's that bad.
I did on my way down to Warner Creek, heading kind of northeast from Tremper. I ran into nettles. I don't know. Maybe they
Bushwhacking?
just search. Yeah, well, no, I was on the trail. Maybe they just searched me out. You know, maybe you have a certain immunity to nettles, or you have like some special cream you got at Camp Catskill that, you know, gives you a barrier to nettle juice. But no, going through there, yeah, I definitely had too many close and personal encounters with my nettle friends, and
I'll
cursed.
say nettles are the worst part of the All Trails Challenge.
Yeah.
Because there are some areas that are thick with nettles.
Yeah.
There are certain hikes that are just better to be done in the fall or very early spring.
Yeah, or with full body armor on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
So yeah, some
That
of
will
these
also
nettles.
work.
Yeah. This time of year, some of these nettles are so mature. You just looking at the stalks alone, they look like small hemlock trees, but the stalks are green, not brown.
What is Yana calls them? Field of Screams. We
Yeah.
ran into the nettle field and she called it
Yeah.
the Field of Screams, and that
Yeah.
cracked me up,
Yeah.
you know, through my tears.
Yeah, the patch for the All Trails Challenge should just be in the shape of a nettle leaf.
Nettles. I like that idea.
Oh, nice. That's actually a good idea. We'll have to present that.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
copyright that. We'll make some money off of that. Pay for some new microphones.
Yeah, right. So, Sarah, any places that you were excited for that you looked on the maps that you were like, oh, I can't wait to visit this area?
Yeah, you know, I always say my favorite hike is the last one I took, and it's kind of the same thing. The most exciting hike is the one I'm planning for next. But yeah, I was really excited to do the Huckleberry Loop. because I had heard wonderful things about that loop and I missed out on it because I was sick. So I had plans to go hike that with Yana and her friend Kristen, and I wasn't feeling well. So I missed out on that. And it just seemed like every time I tried to plan it, I wasn't able to get to it. But it worked out well. I went in May, and boy, it is gorgeous out there. The other one, Tan Bark Trail. That's a really neat little trail. It's very quick, but boy, that's got some really cool rock formations that I had heard about. You know, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but that's kind of a fun little hike too. And I was going to say, my most anticipated hike was the hike I got to do with my friend Michelle and her baby boy Sarah.
Michelle.
After-
How do you say her last name?
Very old Uncle Sarah. Yeah, Michelle Lutz.
Lutz. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you do?
We did Rochester Hollow.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good one. And baby boy Sarah stayed awake the whole time. He's a rugged little hiker. She'd be a good one to have on the show if you want to talk about hiking with toddlers. That girl's got it. She got it down to a science, let me tell you.
Good idea.
Yana laughed at me because we actually hiked when he was, I think, 2 months old. Yeah, around 2 months old. And I said to, when she asked me how the hike went, and I said, well, it was pretty good, but, you know, I was out hiked by a nursing mother. And then I followed up with, she was literally nursing while hiking. And she was still faster than me.
I didn't know that was a requirement of the All Trails Challenge.
I know, you better get on that.
Wow.
But she's Wonder Woman. She's amazing.
Tad, you're not going to complete that.
Yeah, that just was so deflating. I was doing this with some enthusiasm, and here I am.
You have to hire a guide. You have to, you know, nurse those babies.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically what it is, you know. Ted, any places you were excited for?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Sarah said. You know, it's the next hike is the one that's whetting my appetite, and you know, I have a few more to do, so there's a lot more enthusiasm out there to finish this. But I will say it's been a worthwhile departure to spend some time away from what I think now are my old friends, the higher mountains in the Catskills, hit these all trails. But I am looking forward to finishing off maybe another round this winter in the higher elevations here.
Nice. So what about Sarah, the most dreadful hike that you've had?
I would say hiking out to Quick Lake. That whole area, it's funny, one of my favorites and one of my least favorites were out in the Willowmeek Forest up there. Oh man. So yeah, there's a lot of intersecting trails, a lot of snowmobile trails, which can be the bane of your existence, you know, because they're not all required for the challenge. And Yana and I went out there, and she's a planner. She had it planned out. But as we are likely to do, we started to chit chat, and about 1.5 miles down this trail, we realized we were covering ground we had already covered. So we had to backtrack that extra 1.5 miles. So there was an additional 3. So the day in total was a 20-mile day, because prior to that, we had to pick up, I think it was 2 miles of trail we had missed out in that direction, because it's so far. You don't want to make that trip for 2 miles, right? So we thought we'll just tack it on. And it would have been a pretty manageable day until we had our little 3-mile detour. So yeah, by the end of the day, we had put on about 19 miles. Hiking out to that lean-to at Quick Lake felt like it was never going to end. When I tell you it was a sea of ferns, there was no trail. We were just bushwhacking through ferns, waist-high ferns. And that was exhausting. And to think, you know, we made it to the lean-to around 4:30, and then we had to go all the way back. And we made short work of the return trip, thank God. But that was probably the lowest point I've had. with this challenge.
Wow.
That was a tough day. That was a really tough day. Beautiful. And that theme too is gorgeous. But I think we both were thinking about living there
Wow.
instead of hiking. Yeah, that was a struggle. That's one. If you're going to do Quick Lake and you have not done that yet, I would say do that in November when all those ferns have kind of relaxed a little bit. Maybe March or April would be a good time to do it.
Yeah. There's times when those ferns can be absolutely beautiful and amazing, and you can be grateful of it. But then there's other times when you're just like, Jesus, when will this end?
That's it. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. This is magic. I'm high on life. And about 40 minutes in, that all changed.
Because you're holding your hands above your head, and you're just like, God damn, my arms are getting crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then every once in a while, the nettles would give us a break. So that was cool.
So don't wear shorts while doing the All Trails Challenge.
I
will
know.
agree
Don't
with
wear
that.
shorts. And I wear shorts every time.
It's a
I don't know
summer.
why. I should learn a lesson.
You got to have those dorky convertible pants that like
I
go
love
into the
those.
shorts. Yeah.
But still, you don't want to put them on. It takes too much time. You got to take off
does.
your shoe. You got to put on the
No,
pants.
you don't have to take off your shoes. You need to learn the technique. There's a little technique to it. Well, if we had this conversation last week when we were together, all those boring moments we had in solitude in the parking lot this weekend, I would have taken some time to teach you at the ripe old age of 42 how to put on a pair of pants, Dosh. It's about time. It's about time you learned a basic skill like that. So
Yeah. So Tad, how about you? How about the most dreadful?
So I can't say that my most dreadful all trails experience is associated with hiking a trail itself. What made it a dreadful experience were the mosquitoes that were the size of like somebody's thumbs. And at one point I had so many mosquitoes swarming around my head. I kind of felt like I was working air traffic control at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark. It was just awful. I had just like these enormous flesh-eating mosquitoes and I had my wife had gotten me some like all-natural mosquito repellent. It was completely ineffective. Right. And I don't know if that was intentional on her part or not. I want to think that it was unintentional on her part. But at any rate, I was willing, and I was in my mind, as you're solo hiking, your mind can just race to the most extreme, scenarios. And so I envisioned myself like spraying my body with 103% DEET to get rid of these mosquitoes. But I didn't have any bug spray with me. And I was hiking out of Palinville up around the various trails in North-South Lake, and I was going to hike out to Rip Van Winkle Hollow. And as I'm hiking up, and I haven't seen anybody for well over an hour, and half of my face has been eaten off by these mosquitoes, I see this elderly couple. When I say elderly, I'm telling you if they weren't in their 80s, they were so close, they were like a birthday or two away. And at first I'm like, what the fuck are they doing all the way out here? But then I noticed that they're foraging, they're a little bit off the trail, and the older man who was closer to me had a canvas bag around his neck, the strap of it around his neck, and he had been putting mushrooms into the bag. And he sees me, and he gradually stands up, and he starts walking towards me, but he's looking in his bag, and he's pulling out these mushrooms, and he starts showing them to me. And all I'm thinking about as he's showing them to me is there isn't a mosquito around his head. He must have bug spray. So I'm waiting for a break. Yeah, I'm waiting for a break in his monologue so I can just say, hey, buddy, do you have any bug spray? But he's going on, he's looking at the mushrooms, he's showing me the mushrooms, and then eventually he starts to look up and he looks towards me, and without breaking like a word, he just has this look of horror come upon his face as he sees these mosquitoes swarming around me and landing on me, and I'm trying to be composed, but it's hard to be composed. He turns to his wife, and he says to his wife, honey, get the bug spray. This man doesn't have any bug spray. And she does. She pulls out like this industrial can of DEET, like off DEET, that she comes over with, and she just sprays me with this. And I felt like I was taking a shower out in the woods, getting like bathed in DEET. And it was great for about the next 3 hours as I continued on this hike. I didn't have any mosquitoes around me. But then as I started to come back down the escarpment, the DEET had worn off. And there they were again. They had all revisited me to get their second meal of the day. So I had one of those light windbreakers with me with the hood. And this was I'm going to say late July, early August. And so I put this windbreaker on with the hood wrapped around my face as close as I could. Stosh is thinking, and it is true, I did not have a head net with me, and I wish I did. So I bundled myself up as best as I could, sprayed that natural product as, the rest of it on my face. So I smelled like some lemon eucalyptus treat or whatever, and hiked back to my car in like a complete state of misery. Right. Yeah. But unfortunately, my face wasn't nibbled away beyond recognition. But yeah, that was my worst day. And I'll never forget that day with this guy showing me his mushrooms and then realizing that I didn't have any bug spray and I was getting eaten alive in front of him. And he had this look of horror. And then he summons his wife to come over with the DEET. So yeah, that's it. And I was only in therapy, I think, for 4 or 6 weeks after that. But it's amazing what a professional therapist can do to get you over your trauma.
It's funny how we spend so much of our time, buying organic food and trying to be healthy and exercising and eating right and going to the doctor and taking our blood pressure medicines and whatever we need. But then the minute some mosquitoes come out, we will bathe ourselves in poison.
Yeah.
That is second thought.
If there was a can of Agent Orange there.
Yep.
Yeah, I would. It was so bad. Yeah, so that was my horrific memory during the Ultrails Challenge. So now, needless to say, I when I go out, I have different flavors of bug spray. Just invent, flavor number 1 doesn't work, I can go to number 2, and then I have the ultimate backup of, industrial strength off. Don't use on children under the age of 25. Causes genetic mutations. And I have the nets now. I have the head net, and
I hope so.
Yeah, a machete, because they get that big. You can cut them with the machete.
I love my head net. They make bodysuits. They make full-on bodysuits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen those things before, for up in Alaska and stuff like that.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
You'll know me on the trail because I'll be dressed like the beekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, any unexpected events that you've come across doing the Ultrails Challenge?
Yeah, my favorite, Yana, of course, with Yana, we were leaving a hike and it was out in the Western Catskills. I can't remember exactly which one it was off the top of my head, but we see a deer on the side of the road, and next to it is this little white dog. And as we get closer, we realize it's not a dog, it's a deer. There was a leucistic, I guess it's leucistic, not albino.
Wow.
Because it wasn't true albino, a leucistic fawn. And they stood on the side of the road. We got some cool pictures. And it was just its little eyes were black. There was just a little black ring around its eyes. But otherwise, it was pure white. And I thought that was amazing. I love anytime I have a wildlife encounter. It's a good day for me, but that was incredible.
Yeah, that must have been.
Yeah, that was really something to see. And another time we saw an eagle right on the side. We saw a lot of eagles, but this particular one was pretty cool. He just kind of sat in this dead tree. And, Yana's the birder, so she took out her camera. She got some amazing photos. And as we were walking back to the car, we found this little sign that indicated there was a survey marker just into the woods. So we kind of, walked just past where the trees started, and we found a little survey marker out in the middle of nowhere. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it just, I don't know, that's just something special about it. Every time, it seemed like every hike, there was something unique or something different that we got to experience.
Excellent.
Yeah. And, that's the beauty of going out into these lesser known trails experience something that the Catskills has to offer that you didn't expect, especially, you know, when you travel, of course, through the higher peaks and stuff like that. It's just all well pathed, well paved, you know, stuff like that. And then you deal with these. I mean, sometimes it's horrible with the nettles and the ferns and stuff, but then you get the appreciation of the forest.
And, you know, even the birds out there too, because there are so few people who hike some of those trails. You see a lot more variety of birds. You actually get to see a lot of fledglings that you wouldn't see in the more populated areas. So, yeah.
Ed, how about you?
For Sarah, that must have been pretty special to have somebody who was into birding.
Yeah,
and, knew all about these. Yeah, it kind of gives you a whole new perspective and appreciation for the area that you're hiking in.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, unexpected things that I came upon, I mean, I'm just going to go back without retelling, but I'm just going to go back to running into this like 78, 80-year-old guy in the middle of nowhere that saved me with that industrial bug spray, because I just, you know, I hadn't seen anybody for quite a while. There was this old couple, totally unexpected, but yeah, they had some bug spray. So call it trail magic. They saved my day.
Yeah. So to be honest, I'm not going on this all trails challenge and stuff, but I should be, because I've gone a lot of trails, but some of the unexpected stuff that I've come across is how well some of these areas are maintained other than other areas. So you go on the Willamette Mountain Trail from the Beaverkill, and they have the only suspension bridge in the Catskills, which is absolutely phenomenal, that I was unaware of. I'm like, whoa, suspension bridge. What are we over in freaking Asia? Like, this is absolutely phenomenal. And other things like that. I got to admit, the Willamette Trail going up to the top of Willamette was actually pretty well maintained and stuff. And it's not that difficult. It's actually not that bad. And then crossing the Beaverkill, getting that feel of where fly fishers begin their journey to begin in the great fly fishing in the Catskills. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So Sarah, have you driven up that road along the Beaverkill?
Cross Mountain?
Oh my God, Cross Mountain.
I don't think it's the Cross Mountain.
Cross Mountain is a horrible road.
Yeah. Well, maybe that road is, but I'm talking about the road that goes right along the Beaverkill.
Is there a drop off?
No, it's just this like never-ending road that takes you out to the Balsam Lake parking area on the opposite side, you know, on more of like the southerly side of Balsam Lake Mountain, right? That is, now would you agree with me that is the most scenic road in the Catskills?
It's so beautiful out there.
Yeah. It's just jaw dropping. Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. I've been out it many, many times. I've cycled along it many times to hike, to do like a point-to-point hike. But yeah,
Ted,
that's kind of just,
you're talking about that.
Yeah.
How can't you talk about Cross Mountain? Have you been over Cross Mountain? Admit it, you haven't.
Yeah, Cross Mountain. I've been over Cross Mountain.
Yeah, well, how can you say I've been over Cross Mountain when it's terrifying? It's fucking absolutely insane.
Really? I'm going to zero in and I'm going to see if this Cross Mountain is as bad as you claim it to be.
Dude,
I don't believe
I wound up going over Cross Mountain in November because I was a dummy. It was, oh my God, it was such a nightmare. I think I hiked Panther. I hiked something in the morning and I was like, you know, I just want to grab Balsam Lake Mountain. And I just hit in my GPS BLM, but it was the seasonal access. I just didn't even think about it. I didn't pay attention. I just, in my GPS in my car, I hit the option because it was the last time I visited Balsam Lake Mountain. I went from that approach. And of course, I wound up going over Cross Mountain. And on my way up, I saw the sign saying, you know, seasonal closed. It was fine, but it was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was kicking myself.
Yeah, this is where we transition into a commercial for a Jeep Wrangler. I've been over the Cross Mountain Road many times in my trusty Jeep. Not a problem.
I was in a Dodge Caravan.
Oh,
A minivan.
wow. Oh, wow.
You're a real thrill seeker then, because
like to live on the
I
edge.
would not do it at a Dodge Caravan. Did you have like a couple kids in the car seat in the back and
No.
groceries from Hannaford's?
No,
Damn.
there was probably like a juice box under the car. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if I got stuck, I probably could have found some goldfish.
Yeah, you could live for a few weeks with this
Yeah.
the food between the seat cracks. Yeah.
Those chicken
No, I
nuggets
actually-
never
yeah,
mold.
I'll try to send you a post I did of me driving Cross Mountain Road in the winter.
Okay, please do, because
I was going out to Kelly Hollow.
I did that for Willowiemek one time for search and rescue, and driving the Prius was absolutely horrifying. I'd rather drive Flatikill Mountain Road going down to Palinville or Socrates than I would any time of that. Well, now that they've done it, but that was and what's that other mountain that you go up to?
Barkaboom?
No, going up north
No?
towards Huntersfield. What is that? Jim, is it Jim Thorpe? Not Jim Thorpe. You go up to Huntersfield Mountain. It's absolutely insane, steep switchbacks that is just absolutely terrifying.
On the road?
Yeah, on the road. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'll think of it sometime. But apparently, you guys have never been up there.
Pine Island? No, you're way north of Pine Island Mountain.
Oh, no.
Where are we here? Huntersfield.
I was going to say, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Apparently, you guys have never been.
Ashland Pinnacle?
Well, it's right around there.
Yeah.
There's Partridge Road and right next to that, Huntersfield. Jim Cleveland Road. You ever been up that?
Jim.
I don't know.
You guys-
Stop it. I went down Jim Cleveland Road on my electric skateboard a couple weeks ago. Okay. Yeah.
Please. You've
Yeah,
never been up
no.
there before.
No, I've been up there. There's like a new skateboarding group in the Catskills that I founded. We're the Blue Hole skateboarders, and yeah, we went on that road.
You've never been up there before. You do not.
You're saying the BG Partridge Road, was that it?
No.
No.
So you guys have
What was
never
it?
been up there. So once you get up there, let me know and we'll talk about it. So Sarah,
All right.
thank you for joining us. Sorry. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Ted, thank you for joining us and giving your little talk about the Ultra Challenge. Sarah has only like under 6 miles, under 3 miles to do. Ted,
3 or
how much do
4.
you have left?
I told you I'm going to have to get my accounting firm to like go through the list and do the tabulation. I just mentally I keep telling myself I'm inside of 15% to go, and that's what's keeping me going. Is I can see the end without knowing where the end is.
Okay. So Sarah, can you talk about your social media presence? Where can we find you on Instagram and Facebook about this?
Yeah, I'm at the Scenic Route Guiding and Gear on Instagram, Scenic Route Guiding and Gear on Facebook. My personal Instagram is I'm Not Lost, You Are, with underscores in between each of those. And yeah. Happy to be here, Stash and Tad. Thank you so much for having me, and that was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being our sponsor.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Happy to. I was just kidding about the Bees of the Month Club. You know I love the show.
Come on.
I don't want to have hurt feelings. I don't want to, send you back to therapy for those 4 weeks. Let's graduate.
Let's not forget what you promised to do at the end of the show. That we've reached that moment.
Oh yeah, it's so. You know what? Give it a second. Post hike Brews and Brights. Mary Teacher did the suggestion. What do you have suggested for us?
Oh, post hike brews and bites. Ooh, I love a good Stewart's pizza. I mean, I'm kind of lowbrow,
I gotta
but I
admit.
know you're looking for. Where was it that we just? Oh, give me the name of the brewery. Out by is it Hunter Brewery? What is the brewery out by the Devil's Path?
Oh, the top of the kind of like the notch, the knoll area.
Yeah.
Oh
We
shit!
out
You got
there
me on
after
that one.
It was good. It was so good.
Is
I
this
feel
the
really
West?
messy.
It's too.
Westkill
Is it
Brewery?
Westkill? It might-
No,
No, it's not Westkill Brewery. It's
Yeah.
it's too popular to be West. Oh well, Westkill is very popular. Gotta admit. Hold on one sec. I know what you're talking about. Oh shit! It's right at top of the knoll, and then when you go into the notch, it's right there.
it was it, you know, it
Hunter
was
Mountain
close to this
Brewery.
part. What was it?
I guess it's Hunter Mountain Brewer.
Yeah, Hunter Mountain Brewery. What did I just say? You could see Hunter from it. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, Anna.
I'm
It
not
was good. It
lost.
was
You
delicious.
are. That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
me.
That's me.
That's me.
I'll go guiding with her. Yeah. Yeah.
Any day, any day.
Yeah.
So awesome.
I will definitely take you on the scenic route, and I promise it will be found eventually.
Excellent. So, Sarah, now's the time where you roll down the windows of your car.
Yeah.
And you give us your
Totally.
loudest mountain lion roar.
I don't think I can do it. I think the best I got for you is meow. That's about all I
That's
can do.
good enough. That was what I
That
heard at
sounds
the
okay.
100th episode.
It's
Yeah,
it's
that
hot
sounds-
in this car. So
You know, I
I
heard
know.
that more than Tad heard that because Tad didn't show up.
I was out hiking with Danny, so that's a hard invite to say no
that was
to.
a good day. That was a really awesome event.
Sarah, what time did the podcast happen? It happened at like 3 p.m. So anybody who's
3.
not done with their hike at 3 p.m. is very sad and very old.
You can call me sad and old. That's fine. I was hiking.
It was a
That
good
was
time.
good enough for me. Yeah. So long as I can hike, it's still good.
So,
I'll take it.
Sarah, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Your perspective on the All Trails Challenge, it's great. Everybody should get out there and enjoy it. Also, check out Scenic Route Guiding. Amazing that you have been a sponsor of the show for this long, especially after this much. What do I say? Tab, what's the word? I don't know.
This struggling and right,
I don't know what the word is, but
we just been struggling along here.
I'm a proud sponsor.
Yeah,
You guys have done great work.
well, thank you so much for joining the show, and thank you so much for taking your time and joining us tonight. So, hope you have a good night. Be safe, drive safe.
Yes, thank you very much. You guys have a good one.
All right, you too. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this. You gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.